Okay, I'm going to call this hearing officially to order. The first thing I want to tell everyone is please silence all of your cell phones. This is the sixth in a series of 7 public hearings of the Ad Hoc Committee to review the Criminal Justice Act. My name is Kathleen Cardone. I'm a United States District Judge for the Western District of Texas, and I'm chair of the committee. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce the other members of the committee that are here with me today. We have Judge Dale Fisher, United States District Judge from the Central District of California. Judge Mitchell Goldberg is not with us right now. He's been with us all morning, but he had a family emergency, but he'll be back. He's the United States District Judge for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. Catherine Rowe, Federal Public Defender for the District of Minnesota. Dr. Robert Rucker, right there, Assistant Circuit Executive for the Ninth Circuit. Also present are members who will be participating throughout these 2-day hearings. Judge Reggie Walton, United States District Judge in the Washington, D.C. Judge John Gerard, United States District Judge from Nebraska. Judge Edward Prado, Chair Emeritus of the committee, and a judge on the Fifth Circuit of the Court of Appeals. Neil McBride, here. I have no idea where he is. An attorney with Davis, Polk, and Wardwell. He's going to get an absent mark. Chip Frensley, National CJA panel attorney, district rep. He is not here, but will be with us tomorrow. Professor Orrin Carr, George Washington University. Reuben Kahn, another missing in action, but he will get notice, executive director for the Federal Defenders of San Diego. And Professor John Gould, who is our reporter from American University. Please let me introduce the staff of the committee, who includes Ms. Erin Brenner. She's the attorney advisor. Ms. Autumn Dickman, who's the project manager, and Mr. Mark Gable in the back of the room, who is our training specialist. This committee is pleased to be conducting our meeting here in Philadelphia. In planning our hearings throughout the country, it was our desire to have the opportunity to hear from all of our diverse judicial districts by setting up regional locations that would allow us to address all matters before this committee. In particular, at this 6th hearing, the committee wishes to have particular focus on the structure and the organization of the Criminal Justice Act program. Now, just a brief history of the Criminal Justice Act. The 6th Amendment guarantees to the accused the right to counsel in serious criminal prosecutions. To ensure that representation, it's now well established that after assessing the financial condition of the accused, the government may bear some or all of the cost of the representation of that person. The responsibility for appointing counsel in federal criminal proceedings for those unable to bear the cost has historically rested with the judiciary. In 1964, the Criminal Justice Act, or what we now call the CJA, was enacted. It established a comprehensive system for appointing and compensating lawyers to represent defendants financially unable to retain counsel in federal proceedings. It also authorized reimbursement of reasonable out-of-pocket expenses and payment of expert and investigative services necessary for an adequate defense. Amendments to the CJA in 1970 authorized districts to establish federal defender organizations as counterparts to the federal prosecutors in those districts, where at least 200 persons annually require appointment of counsel. It's now been more than 50 years since the CJA was enacted. There are approximately 81 authorized federal defender organizations who employ lawyers, investigators, paralegals, and support personnel. They serve over 90 of the 94 judicial districts. Those federal defender organizations, in combination with more than 10,000 private panel attorneys, represent the vast majority of individuals who are prosecuted in our federal courts. In April of 2015, just about a year ago, I and my fellow committee members had the distinct privilege of being appointed by John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, to serve on this ad hoc committee to review the Criminal Justice Act. In so doing, Chief Justice Roberts listed 14 specific issues for us to review. They include the areas of judicial involvement in the CJA process, employment and compensation under the CJA, quality of representation under the CJA, and the CJA structure and effectiveness. This is not the first-of-a-kind study. Judicial Conference policy has long supported a periodic, comprehensive, and impartial review of the CJA program. In 1967, the Judicial Conference and the Department of Justice gave Professor Dallin Oaks the sole responsibility of performing such an analysis. Then, in 1993, a report authored by the Committee to Review the Criminal Justice Act, which was chaired by our Chair Emeritus, Judge Prado, was presented to the Judicial Conference. It was a 212-page report. It described the historical evolution of appointed counsel in the federal courts, as well as presented detailed findings. It made 28 specific recommendations to improve the CJA program to include selection, training, evaluation, and compensation of panel attorneys, the establishment and management of federal defender organizations, CJA funding, and improvements to the administrative structure. Many of the Prado Review Committee's proposals were endorsed by the Judicial Conference. It has now been over 20 years since that report. This committee is very thankful for all of the work that has been done by our predecessors, and in particular, we want to recognize Judge Prado. His previous effort and the effort of his committee has been an invaluable source of help in framing our work for this committee. I want to address for all of you just a little bit about the framework of our study. The study is expected to be completed in the spring of 2017, when it will be presented to the Judicial Conference of the United States Courts. Between now and then, this committee, with all of its collective experience and the views of all of its members, intends to gather information, examine the CJA program, debate the issues, and after thoughtful consideration, make its recommendation to policymakers. These findings and recommendations will be well documented and explained in a written report. The report will be prepared by Professor John Gould. It is the committee's hope that in today's world of computers, email, websites, we're able to sufficiently reach out to the stakeholders and give them the opportunity to provide us with ample information to document our study. For those of you who are not aware, the CJA committee has set up a website at cjastudy.fd.org, which allows anyone to inform themselves about the study and to submit written comment. The committee will be conducting a series of 7 public hearings. The 7 public hearings is in an effort by the committee to hear from a broad spectrum of individuals and organizations and to engage them in discussion of the issues. The 7 public hearings have been scheduled as follows. Our first completed hearing was November 16th and 17th in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Our second hearing was in Miami on January 11th and 12th of 2016. Our third hearing was in Portland, Oregon on February 3rd and 4th of 2016. Our fourth hearing was February 18th and 19th in Birmingham, Alabama. Our fifth hearing was March 2nd and 3rd in San Francisco, California. We're here April 11th through the 13th, I believe, here in Philadelphia. And finally, May 16th and 17th, we will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're hopeful that the criminal justice community will come forward to present their views. All of these hearings will be transcribed for the public record. If you go to cjastudy.fd.org, you can see all of our prior hearings, you can see transcripts, you can see written testimony, and I encourage you to do so, and please give us comment. And the video and transcripts from our previous hearings are posted on that website, as will today's hearing. Today's hearing is currently being broadcast live through our CJA Study website. Again, cjastudy.fd.org.